What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another edition of On the Road to Victory. I am your host, Jimmy Smith, and I hope you're all having yourselves a great start to your week. Hope you had a fantastic holiday. Happy Easter to you all. If I didn't get to talk to you, but hope you're all having yourselves a great one. Appreciate you tuning in. This is a live one tonight. We're talking about that draft, which is almost a couple weeks away. Let's go. But I hope you're all excited. Appreciate you taking the time, whether you're watching this live or later. Love to hear your thoughts. We've talked about quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers. Now, tonight, we're going to talk about tight ends, and then we'll get offensive line done. We'll move into the defense and even special teams, and we'll get ready for this draft. And we're going to talk about the top guys, best fits at each position as we get ready. And then we'll have that mock draft week or a day where we talk about that, and then we'll break down who I think the Eagles should pick in that first round. And then obviously you'll catch my thoughts throughout all these videos at each position where I think the Eagles should be focused on these positions where. So look, each time, if you've missed any of these, we talk about the which position it is, the prospect tiers, the ranks, and then we'll talk about what the Eagles have at that position and then the top 10 fits for that position. So let's get things started. My man Drew in the chat. Let's go. Appreciate you tuning in, my man. Hope you and the family had a great Easter. And look, it was a great one for me, definitely. Feeling a little under the weather, but had some damn great food and got to see some family. That was fantastic. So great day. Hope you all enjoyed your day, but we're here to talk some football now, baby. So let's get it going. Let's get it started talking about these tight end draft prospects, and we'll talk about them in the tiers as we have done for each position so far. So you'll see which rounds I think these guys will go in. And afterwards, I'll show you what the Eagles have at that position. And we'll talk about which out of these guys you'll see are the best fits for the Eagles. So let's start it off here. And you'll see these are the guys I find going more 7th round or undrafted that you could pick up. And, you know, a guy like Hunter Lepke, maybe somebody wants to draft him in an earlier round because he brings that fullback capability, somebody that could be a steal for the draft. But look, you know, there's a lot of guys that I think are very talented in this tight end position. So if you've got anybody in mind, let me know. But you're going to see these tiers, and then I'll break it down who I think would fit for the Eagles. But some rounds that could go earlier, and these guys could definitely drop into the 7th round, go undrafted as well. Maybe they go into the 4th round, someone like Zach Kuntz, maybe Brenton Strange, Davis Allen, Payne Durham, Josh Weil, Will Mallory. There's a lot of guys, Cameron Latu and Braden Willis here, that I think, you know, it's such a deep root, and we'll see if there's like a big run on tight ends, but there's a lot of talented guys you could add in this draft. But for me, you know, and again, some of these guys could maybe go into the 4th. Maybe someone's taking a flyer in the 3rd on someone like Kuntz that you know, look at his upside. But hey, man, I'm going to break down what I think the Eagles should try to do. But a really talented tight end class, in my opinion, and some guys that I felt, you know, this is kind of like my 4, 5, 6, and 7 ranked. You saw like those other guys kind of starting off the top 10, but I think here, you know, Musgrave, Kraft, Laporta, Schoonmaker, you could find, you know, different talent out of all these guys. And, you know, Laporta, I think, is going to be, you know, a steal for somebody out of Iowa. But when we're talking about Eagles fits, we'll get into that more of like that Y-type tight end, that receiving type tight end, F-type, And I think that, you know, you can definitely be looking into that. But we talk about, you know, Calcaterra and a lot of things recently about these tight ends. But look, a lot of talent that the Eagles could be looking for here. And the top 3 guys, in my opinion, that could definitely go in the 1st round. And again, another thing where it's like, what are you looking for here? They call Michael Mayer, you know, baby Gronk. He's got it all. Kincaid, more of that F-type tight end, you know, where he's receiving. And then Darnell Washington, just a tank. So, I mean, for me, I like all of those guys, and we're going to talk about them here shortly. But I think that there's a lot of options for the Philadelphia Eagles. And, you know, I was talking about this the last couple of weeks, and someone just asked me recently last week that, you know, could the Eagles look for a tight end too? And this is something I feel strongly about. Look, in my opinion, with what the Eagles have at tight end, they could definitely be looking to improve the room. And it does not mean I don't like what we have there, but again, look to improve the room. So let's take a look at these tight ends here that the Eagles do have. We know Dallas Goedert leading the way, but then you've got Calcaterra, who is that F-type tight end. Then you got Jack Stoll, who can play that H-back type role. You're blocking. He can receive a little bit. And then you got Dalton Keene in there, who was on the practice squad last year. He was signed to a reserve future contract. He'll be here this summer. And then Tyree Jackson, an exclusive rights free agent. See if we tender him, allow him to come back, play here. We'll see, give him another opportunity. But again, you can make this room stronger. I think Calcaterra, only 1 year and he had injuries, in college. So trying to get, up to pace with things. And I think that he'll be just fine. I like Stoll. He's got some promise, but, undrafted for a reason. But again, any of these guys could pan out. And I, like the upside there. But I think if you're looking in this draft, which the Eagles could definitely and should definitely be doing, because there is a lot of talent in here. You could add another tight end to this room and then have, Calcaterra as the third guy. Or you add someone that beats out Calcaterra, and then you have Jack Stoll as your third. I mean, there's a lot of options here, but let's talk about those top 10 best fits for the Philadelphia Eagles here. What is going on, my man Sean in the building, my man Anthony? Hope you're all doing pretty well, because I know my ass is ready for this draft. I'm getting pretty excited breaking this stuff down. Doing this content is always fun for me, getting ready for this. So I hope you're all having a great week, a great start. I hope you had a great holiday. Appreciate you taking the time. Comment on the tight ends out of this class because I haven't studied them yet. So, appreciate you tuning in, though, my man. And we're going to talk about a lot of these guys. And this is another one. Receiver, running back. It was like, holy shit, who do I pick here? And I'm not doing top 10 here. You've already kind of seen what my top 10 is there. But it's a breakdown of who I think the Eagles should be looking at here. So we're going to talk about all those things. And if any of you have opinions on these guys or you like something, Anthony, and someone intrigues you, let me know. Love to hear your guys' thoughts. But we're going to jump into these top 10 best fits, tight end or a fullback like the Niners got. And I just mentioned Hunter Lepke, from North Dakota State. You've got some guys out there that I think could fill that mold. And we talked about that during, the running backs. There were a couple guys that kind of fit that role. And I don't think that the Eagles are necessarily looking for that. But if you got a guy like that brings a lot more than what Jack Stoll does, I think he can replace him as that H-back type guy, and you can use him in a lot of those different ways. So I'm with you, Travis, and there's some guys that I think could definitely fit that mold. And I think Lepke was somebody I wanted to put on here, but it is what it is. So we're going to jump into this. I want to start off with some guys I like, and this is kind of what I had said about, maybe Calcaterra gets pushed out. But I think they're definitely going to give him a chance, but you could bring in a guy with some talent here. And, well, let's just start it off talking about him. Davis Allen. Now, stats, man. I give them to you because I know you guys like this stuff, but it's like, let's take it all with a grain of salt, especially with tight ends, man. A lot of these guys have good receivers in front of them, this, that, the other thing, whatever it may be. But we'll take a look anyway. And, had a decent year last year at 11.4 yards per catch and 5 touchdowns. And I think that this kid, Davis Allen, really impressed at the combine. He has shown in his 4 years, this kid is going to give you something that, again, more of a F-type guy, the receiving type dude. But if you watch him, obviously 6'6", 250 pounds. He's a pretty fun guy to watch. And I think that he's a good route runner. He's got good body control when he's making his catches. And, I think he goes up and gets the ball. But one of the things is, I don't really think that he's someone that, has got this, great route tree. He's going to come out, do all this great blocking. He's going to, bring something to the table that is something I think we need, where, he's going to put a defense on their heels. You add a tight end too that's going to do that. Oh, yeah. And this isn't, like I said, a receiving type guy. It's not exactly like he's one of these top tier guys that's, breaking ankles. I just think he's a good tight end, and he's somebody that showed he had a lot of skills at that combine. And I think, he's a dude that probably go in the later rounds, maybe undrafted. So we're going to talk about guys in, each kind of tier there. But again, that 6'6", 250-ish range. And man, he is fun to watch. And I just thought I would bring him up as number 10. I think that he is somebody that he could definitely add something to your team. So for me, add him on. He's got something that I think a lot of teams would like. And Luke Schoonmaker, somebody I had mentioned a little bit earlier here. This is a kid that, didn't see the most opportunity here, only 23 games. And he played 4 years at Michigan, missed 1 year there, his sophomore year, his junior year. But then he went on to actually have a pretty intriguing year last year where he caught 11.9 yards per catch there, 418 yards. He had 3 touchdowns. I thought he was actually pretty intriguing for a tight end. And again, these guys are tight ends, so they're going to have that 6'5", 250, but he's a nice mold. Big. I mean, he looks like one of those F-type guys, like a receiving guy, but man, I think you could really work on him. He's got a nice frame where I think you add some muscle in. This dude could really turn into something pretty impressive. And he already is pretty impressive. He runs like a 4.6 something 40. And I think he's just a playmaker. Somebody's got pretty good hands, soft hands. And I think he can make some plays in the short yardage area. Somebody that I would definitely take as a tight end too, but not exactly the greatest route runner and not exactly the greatest blocker. And I'm looking for the Eagles to add somebody that can block, actually. When I'm looking for a tight end too, we've got Goddard, got Calcaterra, who I think could fill out into that F-type tight end role, that receiving guy. And then you add somebody that can block more. So I like him, but there's a reason he's down near the bottom. Now, again, this is not a ranking, whereas, this guy's better than this guy. This is fits for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, up next, Zach Kuntz. And I had mentioned him. This is a real wild card here. This guy could go all over the place. For me, I think he could definitely, find himself going in an earlier round. Maybe you give him the 5th round, 4th round. I don't know about that, but I think he could fall too. He could go to the 6th, 7th round. He's only played in 21 games you see here, but man, he has got some upside. He started at Penn State, but he had Freiermuth in front of him. Then he had, I forget who else, a couple guys that pushed him back. He transferred to Old Dominion. And, look, take that with what you will. Last year really didn't do too much at 12 catches for 144 yards. That's 12 yards per catch, 2 touchdowns. But, man, he is a freak, 6'7", 255 beast. And, look, I think when he gets the ball in his hands, he is dangerous. He's an explosive player. He's got good hands. And I think that, a quick player for his size, and he could add some muscle for sure. But I think that he's got great ball tracking skills, good hands that I'd mentioned. And I think that together, that size, ooh, man. But look, he could use some work in his blocking. I think that, he's definitely a project. But I'm telling you, this kid is really fun to watch, and it was somebody that I really wanted to add to my list because he is somebody that could push Calcaterra, and I would not be against that at all. Now, at number 7, you've got Payne Durham, and I think this kid, he is another one. Look, 6'5", 255. Okay, we're getting the hint here, but 4 years at Purdue. I'm losing my mind here, and I think this kid is another one. We're talking about late round guys that aren't going to be, looked at in the mid rounds even. And I think you could find yourself a steal. Somebody, who comes in 10.1 yards per catch. He has 21 touchdowns at Purdue. And I think, this is a dude who can block. This is somebody that, he's pretty fluid in his movement. I think that he's actually like a tight end, like a receiving tight end where, you watch him come off the line. He's actually pretty fun to watch because he's got good hands. And I think that, somebody that he's got good technique, and he's somebody that another one that I think you could add a little beef on to help his blocking, but I think he does it well enough. I like this dude's blocking. I like what he brings to the table. And I think, if you could find him in the later rounds, you've already grabbed all the things you need to. I think that would be a great value. Somebody that I would not be against. Now, rounding out this bottom 5 here of the best fits, I've got a Penn Stater here, Brenton Strange. And this is another one where I feel like, maybe lack of opportunity. He did play in 32 games. He had 4 years there. And last year he had a good year, 11.3 yards per catch at 362 yards and 5 touchdowns. So had himself a decent year there. He's only 22 years old. This is a dude that we're talking about adding somebody that can not only be a receiving type tight end, but also block. I think, he's obviously, 6'4", 253. And if you would see him, watch his tape, you'll see that, he looks maybe like he's undersized, but I think this dude, beef him up a little bit, he is going to be, a damn good tight end because he's so good at blocking. I think he'd be a great fit for the Eagles. If you're talking about that lower round, now, I think this dude, other teams are seeing this too. So I think he could go as high as 5th round. Damn, maybe even a team takes him in the 4th round. I really, really like Brenton Strange. And I think that, this dude, he could really add something. Obviously, we talk about, take it all with a grain of salt, these stats here, but I think he does well as a receiver. But look, I even saw him, on some kick returns. That just tells you what he can do with the ball in his hand. So he, catch and run kind of guy. I think, he really helps you in all areas of the game. And clearly, at 6'4", 253, you're small. That's not really, he'll be fine, man. And I think that this dude's a beast, and he's so good at blocking that I would definitely look for the Eagles, hopefully, to add someone like this. Because if you're going to add a tight end too, I'm thinking that this is the kind of tight end you would like to add. And I would happily take Brenton Strange, especially if he would drop or something. But again, there's so many talented tight ends. It depends on what these teams are looking for. So we'll see what they like here. But for me, those are some guys I really liked. And then this top five, they've got some pretty talented players here. Schoonmaker sounds like a tight end name. Yeah, I was laughing with my girlfriend, all the names I get to see doing all of this stuff. It's always hilarious. And, Schoonmaker, Musgrave, all these like hilarious names. But I love it, man. I truly do. But speaking of, at number 5, Luke Musgrave. So let's keep this train moving here. But let me know what you guys think. And Musgrave, nothing too crazy there in the stat department. Only played in 20 games there at Oregon State. But, man, you see 13.5 yards per catch there. Last year, he had 15.4 yards per catch. I think it's just lack of opportunity there for this kid. This is somebody who is another well-rounded guy who helps you in all areas. And I think, man, he would be a great addition for the Philadelphia Eagles here. I think another guy that is great in the short area. He's got those good hands. You've got somebody adding him. He helps you in that blocking area. And I think that he actually, if you watch him, he makes some great contested catches. So he really does have good hands. He does some things that really impressed me as a receiver too. So it's not just his blocking that I like, but the fact that he is so well-rounded, a much better receiver than someone like Brenton Strange. But not to say that Strange isn't good, but I think that this dude, he is, and he could definitely use some work. Don't get me wrong. I think that he needs a little bit of power added to him. You'll see he's a tall, lankier kind of tight end, but 6'6", 253. But I think, obviously very young, 22 years old. Sky's the limit for this young man. And I think that some work in the receiving department, but the fact that he's so good in those areas, I think this kid will be, a great grab for somebody. And obviously it's going to depend on where they take him, but I think this kid could go in the 3rd round, maybe even the 2nd round. This kid is so good. That's why I had him in that 2nd, 3rd round kind of. I just really feel that there is so much talent here, but it really depends on where these teams are looking. And if there's a run on tight ends, if they feel they've got to take these guys. So it's up in the air where they go. But for me, I think he would be a great fit for the Eagles. Now, he might even be a better fit for this guy right here. But this guy is so good that I didn't want to leave off Dalton Kincaid. I really think that this is somebody that, he brings a lot to the table as a receiver. There's a lot to be said, though, about him as a blocker, though. So that's why he might be one of the best, if not the best tight end in this draft. But for me, his blocking wasn't the greatest. So that's where, now, if you put a tight end like him with Goddard, oh my God, that's why I didn't leave him off this list, though. You know what I mean? You have to. And last year, 12.7 yards per catch. He had 890 yards and 8 touchdowns. That's it's pretty damn good. So half of his touchdowns there were last year. You can see he had a great year, and you can see that this kid has a lot of talent. And, playing at Utah again, you got to realize where they're playing, but the talent they're playing again. So take it all with a grain of salt. But this young man, this is somebody who, you come in, you're going to get something from the receiving game from him. He is great off the line. He is somebody that I think, he's got those soft hands we talk about. Great route runner. Somebody that obviously I think you could add some, strength to, and you could help him as a blocker. But I really think that it doesn't matter if you're looking for a guy, because he can line up in the slot. You can flex him out. I really think that, he's 6'4", 242. You want to talk about how much they say, Strange is undersized. This guy's smaller than him. And look, he's still good. I know he's considered one of the best, and I think he definitely is. But for me, not one of the best fits for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I did not have him in my top 3, but he is in my top 3 when it comes to rankings. I just don't think that need to go that route, but a very, very talented player. Now at number 3, I really like this kid. And again, this is not a rankings chart, so I think Dalton Kincaid will definitely go way before Tucker Kraft. But Tucker Kraft, last year only had 348 yards on 27 catches, 3 touchdowns. The year before, though, had 770 yards on 65 catches, 6 touchdowns. I think this kid has shown, at the combine, he's going to be somebody fun to watch. He's got that prototype size, 6'5", 254. And, ran a 4.69 40 at the combine. And I think he was showing out. He was showing people, obviously, when you go somewhere like South Dakota State, it's hard to get your name out there. But luckily, you've got some guys going to those South and North Dakotas that help them out, tight ends too. But he's got those soft hands we talk about. Great route runner. I think that he really brings something to the table in the run game, the blocking game, also the blocking in the pass game too. So I think that this dude, he's a great athlete. He's got that size. If you watch him, he looks like that prototype. So for me, this is why he's in my top 3. He's a strong dude. He's only going to get stronger, better, 22 years old. But he could use some work as a receiver. But again, I'm looking for that guy that can really help as a blocker too, that tight end too. We've got Goddard. We know that. But this kid isn't like some kind of freak athlete out here like some of those other guys I mentioned. But the fact that he's such a good tight end when it comes to blocking, when it comes to being a receiver, man, I think he would be a great fit. And I also think he'd be a great fit if the Eagles go ahead and make one of those moves where we've talked about, maybe they acquire some more picks. Maybe they trade that 30th pick, one of those second thirds. I think this guy, he could definitely go in the 3rd round, but he falls to the 4th. You find yourself with a 4th round pick, or hell, if you just want him in the 3rd, take him. But I think this dude, he is going to be a steal for a team. And I really, really like this young man. So yeah, I think that the Eagles could definitely look to add. But again, I think they could add one of those lower tier guys because it's not necessarily like a need for the Philadelphia Eagles. I just think that, you could definitely add some things. So we'll see. But doesn't block that well on the open field. Well, I do believe he does. But I like him as a blocker. I really think he is somebody that does both pass and run blocking well. So excited to see him. Now, up next, Michael Mayer. Now, I think this dude could be the best in the class, but they call him Baby Gronk for a reason. I don't think that he's necessarily the greatest blocker in this, class, but I think he brings everything to the table, and there's a reason they're talking about him as one of the number 1 guys. His 3 years at Notre Dame, he balled out, and 800 yards the last 2 years. He 12.1 yards per catch last year, 9 touchdowns, over 800 yards, as I mentioned, I think is pretty impressive for this young man, and somebody I would definitely love for the Eagles to add. But here's the thing. I think this dude is going to be one of the top guys off the board. I don't know that the Eagles look there, but if he were to fall and he's somebody that you're like, holy shit, gotta have this dude. I just think I wouldn't be against it, man. He's another one of those guys. He can play the press well. He's a guy that you could, he's a receiving tight end, but he's somebody that brings that blocking to the league. And again, I think he's one of the best blockers in this class, but I'm not saying he's the best blocker, but he could be, because I think you keep adding to this kid. He's going to get stronger, bigger. He could be, baby. I don't think he's Gronk. That's quite a wild comparison there, but somebody I really do like as a tight end. He does go up and get the ball. I know that's why that reminds people of him, and I'm a fan of him, so I wouldn't be against it. But for me, I think that as much as he's baby Gronk in that area, he also kind of gives up some of those, catches where he goes up and he doesn't necessarily fight for it. So that's what I mean. You got to add on to this kid. And I'm not sure we need to go out and take a flyer on someone where I feel other teams will. So for me, he is not the number 1 guy, but wouldn't be against it. Now, at number 1, and I know a lot of people are falling in love with this kid now, but Darnell Washington, you guys remember we talked about him a few months ago, 6'7", 265 pounds. Holy, that's a big ass dude. But clearly stats not jumping off the page other than that 17.2 yards per catch. Holy. Last year it was 16.2, only had 450 yards, 2 touchdowns. But damn, dude, this guy is exactly what I'm looking for. Now, again, this is one of those dudes where if he falls, I think I'm happy taking him. But I think there's going to be other teams that are like, yeah, I'm going to take this 6'7", 265-pound monster. So I think for me, I'm all aboard Darnell Washington, but it's just going to depend on where he is. Because, look, as great as he is as a blocker, and I love his game, not only after the catch, I think, it's clear that this dude's a monster if you've ever seen him. But he's got good technique when catching the ball. And I think that he shows you, that he's got a lot of upside. And that's something that, when people see, 6'7", I mean, it can scare you. For me, it scares me because it's like, okay, he's big, but what does he bring to the table? But I think that he actually catches with his hands. He actually brings something as a receiver. He's somebody that, I liked him in those contested catch areas, whereas Mayer, I saw him at times struggle. So for me, maybe he's not the best all-around tight end, but he's the best fit for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think he could definitely work on his area, especially middle of the field, trying to get open. If we try to, put him in zones, I think he's going to definitely need some work. Don't get me wrong. And he's not exactly this freak athlete at 6'7". You see, he's 265. He's a tank. What I'm looking for, though, for the Philadelphia Eagles to draft is a tank. And that's because I feel adding a tight end to the mix, in the sense of giving you that just all around monster that blocks for you, but can help you in, the receiving game. But also having Grant Calcaterra here makes me feel comfortable that, hey, if he doesn't pan out, that's fine. You can give Tyree Jackson, Keen, everybody a shot this offseason, maybe add somebody, whatever, in free agency. But my point is, you have actual guys that bring something to the table. And I think you'll see, obviously, we're going to run a lot of 12 and 13 personnel anyway, but I think adding those guys in, they really makes this offense 10 times more dangerous. So I know it's a position that's slept on a lot. So for me, I think the Eagles will be looking at tight end as much as, there's, hype about so many other positions. I think the tight end will be important for me. So Goddard won't like this video. Yes, he will, because look, he's not the only tight end, and we run a lot of 12 and 13 personnel. So you want the other guy to be good. So I definitely know he wants himself another tight end to run with. I know the Eagles would like that. So best of luck to the guys already here. You saw that earlier in the show, but you saw my top 10 best fits. You saw the draft prospect tiers and rankings, but I'd love to hear your thoughts below. That's all I've got for you tonight. But if you got anything from this video, do me a favor, hit that like button down below. You can always subscribe. Join us live next time. We'll be going over our offensive line. Hope to get that out tomorrow. If not, then it will be Wednesday. But we're going to get through this. We're going to talk about the defense. And I know you guys are excited about that because a lot of great prospects in this draft class at a lot of positions we need. So going to talk to you next time. But if you need me, feel free to reach out any of these platforms down below. But until next time, I am Jimmy Smith, and this is On the Road to Victory. Again, I hope you all had yourselves a very happy Easter, enjoyed yourselves, but have yourselves a great rest of the night. Stay safe out there, and as always, say it with me now. Go Birds!